Greetings to all and welcome to Season 4, Episode 4. Episode 4. Yep. I'm well prepared today. Our guest today has been making some waves lately in the marbles community. I thought it'd be cool to have him on. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's Electric Mermaid.
Hello, that's me.
She's here. How is you?
I am good. I am good. How are you? I am definitely been awake long enough that I am on time.
Mm. Mm-hmm. I also took a nap. I started fading out around 4:30.
I went to bed at my normal time of around 8 a.m. and I woke
Mm-hmm.
up thinking my alarm went off at 1, but it didn't because it was only 1 and I get up at 4. And then it just didn't go off at all.
It happens. It happens. The
I mean,
important
I've been
thing
awake
is
for
you're here
hours.
now. That's the
I
important thing.
am.
What is the drink of choice today?
It is red rose tea with some kind of coffee creamer. I think it was caramel macchiato or something
Okay.
because we ran
Okay.
out of oat milk. Can I say hi to the viewers?
You can. They are there.
Okay. Hi, Power Cult. Hi, Noble. I don't know how to say your name. Wait, Sasmita? Is it like that? Is the C
C.
silent? But it's
Sasmita.
C
It's
Sasmita.
yeah.
And um, I can't say your name, so this was a bad
Drohuska.
idea. I'm
I have a
sorry.
lot of international audience, unfortunately. So you
I
you
can
gotta
just not read.
think outside the American box for some of these names.
And Peridot
Yes.
and Wings. Hi, Wings.
Oh, yeah. Glad to have you all here. We will kind of field questions in real time, so long as they're relevant to the topics at hand. We generally try to save Q&A for the very end, but if it's something relevant, we'll probably pop on in it. But since we're here, I thought we could get things started. For those of you who don't know, I'm generally going to lead more or less the first half. We'll have a midstream mix-up of kinds, and then Merm can take over for the second half, and we'll go from there. So, question numero uno. Um, the question that has come up many times with many guests, felt it would probably be fitting here. Employment versus entertainment, or rather a worker bee versus an entertainer bee. What are your thoughts on the life, the social contributions, the lack of uh, capitalistic support of one very strong half of that?
Well, I've worked a total, including streaming, of 18 jobs.
Mm, 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 mm.
Other than streaming, only one other has been in the sort of entertainment, but still retail kind of industry. I have to say streaming is absolutely my favorite thing I've ever done.
Agreed.
And I
Agreed.
did enjoy the other job that was in the entertainment, but it was still there's something to be said about having your own schedule and working from your living room that
It is nice.
is nice. Yeah.
I can't disagree with that.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's I think there's a thing with it too when it comes to jobs and anxiety is that there still is, but it's a very different type
mhm,
kind of thing.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the immediate contrast of self-employed versus employed through a company,
Hmm.
uh, and there's a liberty responsibility trade-off for sure in that dynamic, where especially if you're streaming, like you are your own sound person, you're the video person, you're the director, you're the actor, you're the promoter. It really is like all on you, and
Yeah.
over time you eventually find some people to help out and ways to outsource some of the labor, but there is that trade-off of
Yeah. And there's definitely a lot more to it than I thought there would be when I
mm,
started, for
yeah.
sure.
I had a new streamer contact me, I think 2 weeks ago, and they were talking about how much they had to learn with streaming marbles since it was their first week before they were like good to go like I was. I was like, I'm still learning, my friend. There's no, it doesn't stop.
No,
it's not like a
it's
book
constant
and you get to the last chapter. There's always something else to learn with streaming. So it
for
was
sure, for
always
sure.
good to keep that perspective. It's like, don't think of it as how quickly can I master this. It's just
What
really
can I
more,
do to improve it
yeah,
is more of the
learning
way
how
to
to
look at it.
pace your improvement. Like
Yeah,
don't buy $4,000 worth of hardware. You're only going to use the microphone. Everything else you're going to replace in a month.
right. Yeah, getting
So
started streaming versus as you start learning it, it's crazy the difference that you can see. Because I was even looking at some of my old clips, and it's just like the little things
mhm.
that you don't think of that you just kind of gradually learn by yourself or by watching friends or things like that. It's a journey for sure. It is.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest parts of it too is learning that you need to figure out what you need before you get it.
That too.
There's
Yeah.
always that uh, novice enthusiasm, the little anxious jitters. You're like, I gotta
Yeah.
get everything right now, and it's like, well, no, like, get
It's way better to wait,
yeah,
get like a basic Stream Deck on your phone,
yeah,
free app before you go and buy an actual Stream Deck.
right. Use a
Yeah,
default alert system until you know what you want your alerts to be, and then start changing them out. It's like,
right.
I will say, because I always have a lot of people come in to me with advice on streaming and stuff like that, and like trying to get even into the marbles community more specifically. And it's always usually very obvious who's going to do well and who's not going to do well. And there was one streamer that wanted to like make a really big splash and just kind of hit it off right out of the get go. And I was like, you can do that. And with my help and the help of a couple other streamers, you could probably get over 100 people on your first stream. But day two, you're going to be down to 4 people, and that's going to be your most important stream is day two.
Right.
Because if you can't get those 4 people back, then you've lost the plot, because those 4 people saw something in your first stream that attracted them to you. And if you can't find out what that is, and if you can't grow your community around that, you're not going to be successful.
Right. I think that's a big thing. I don't know if you're specifically talking about like raids or whatnot, but a big misconception, especially towards the beginning, is that getting a big raid is going to make you famous. Like that's it. Once you get that one big raid, you're set. And that's not how it is. And if you have even one person come back the next day from a raid, that is huge. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't understand how big of a deal it is just to get that one person until you learn more about how streaming works. Like being able to retain anybody from a raid is a lot harder than I think people realize. You
Mm-hmm.
can't just get incredibly lucky one day and then just be like, oh, well, I'm set.
Right. Yeah, and I think there's a like each person's going to react to that a little differently, obviously.
Right.
But I think one big part of that is there's that validation aspect to it. Is like you want that one chance, that one break, but it's important to know what the actual benefits of those things are. So,
Yeah.
like your retention of a rate is probably going to be under 1%, most
Right.
likely. But each one of those, again, saw something in your stream that they liked. So you need to, like, even if you want to ask them, like, hey, what? You're back. It's good to see you. Why'd you come back? Like, in a nice way.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here?
Exactly. It's like, wait, why are you actually watching me completely
but
on your own
you can
choice?
you can always kind of ask that, and especially in
Yeah.
smaller streams, people like that's why people go to smaller streams. They want to engage the streamer. The
Right.
person juggling 3 conversations and 200 marbles on the track. Like, they're not always going to be able to see your question and your comment, and some people don't like that, and
Right.
that's why they'll go to the smaller streams. So it's important to know kind of what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and it's not a problem to engage your viewers with those
Right.
questions. So yeah, good advice for
Yeah,
free. This isn't even an advice show. This is just a talk show, but sure, free
a
knowledge.
talking advice show. I'm very good at advice and math.
That's good. That's good. Um, Back kind of more in the job aspect. Do you have any issues balancing treating streaming as a job versus treating streaming as an entertainment?
Um, I don't really know specifically the best way to answer that. For me, streaming is almost 24/7, like even when I'm off camera. And if I'm not working on stuff for stream, I feel like I should be working on stuff
Right.
for
Yeah.
stream. So it's hard to like maintain the I am allowed to have free time kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
even when I'm doing things for fun, in the back of my mind, I have different ideas for things that I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm the type of person who like I have that one thing that I really like and I it encompasses everything. I think I'm still being like okay with it,
Okay.
but it's definitely a 24/7 kind of thing.
Mm. I can see that. Yeah. For me, it's definitely more trying to balance it out financially. Anyway,
Mhm.
that's always like trying to spend my time in a way that's going to keep me stable financially. So knowing like when I have to pull back versus when I can dive in and kind of stuff like that. So it can always get little tricky, really knowing where the lines are. So
Right.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's especially um that's one of the like even now it's just knowing what to do and how to do things. Like for me, my viewers mean everything to me. Like that's
Mm.
like the backbone of my stream. That is why I stream. So I'm always nervous to like change things up a little bit because I don't want
Mm.
people to not like it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so like there's that aspect too of the balancing. I don't know the words, but I think the idea is there enough.
Mm-hmm. I mean, change is scary,
Yeah.
especially when you have a pretty strong and engaged viewer base, for sure. Um, I definitely build my stream from a different angle. I kind of go for more like the putting on a show aspect, so something
Right.
that's a bit more spectatory, while still having that. The strength of streaming is the interaction, so you can't ignore it for sure.
Right.
But I would say there's probably a little bit more freedom in that because with a viewer base that knows they're coming in for a show, they're kind of in that back seat to begin with, ready to go on
Right.
the ride. Um, but there's definitely strengths and weaknesses to both approaches for sure, and it really depends on the streamer as to what they're more comfortable with and what they thrive with. So,
Right.
um, how do you how do you do how like what's the process that you go about uh, tackling that balance of maintaining and respecting your viewership while still taking risks and introducing new concepts?
I do a lot of polls and ask people their opinions on things and if they like certain things or if they don't like certain things. I very much try to make sure that while I'm switching over things, 'cause I am a variety streamer at heart.
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a variety streamer, but I usually go through times where I'm doing certain games constantly and then another certain game
Right.
constantly. And and so I do miss doing variety streams. I love marbles and I will definitely be continuing to do marbles. The community is amazing. It's a great game. But I also want to start doing some of the other things that I like to do, playing weird offshoot games,
Mm-hmm.
doing art and stuff like that. So I always want to also make sure like you guys are still having fun, right? You guys still want to be here, right? So it's it's a big like back and forth kind of conversation. And but the backbone of my show has always been variety, so it usually is okay, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah, I think that works. I mean, it looks like it's working. The success seems to be there. For me, I kind of do the same thing. Once every talk show season, I do a just me and chat, and we kind of do that same exact thing. We kind of like talk what we've achieved since we last had the conversation, where the channel's at now, and my ideas for where to take the channel next, and then their feedback on that kind of directionality. So kind of the 2 months off, moving and coming back, the whole plan was I had spent the last 2 years like filling out a full-time schedule with all different
Hmm.
weekly events and things, and seeing what worked and what didn't work, and then using the feedback from chat, we were able to figure out, okay, here's 8 things that work really well. Okay, how do I put that into 7 days? And then did that. So yeah, feedback from chat is critical. Absolutely,
Yeah. Yeah,
absolutely. And just
especially if they're the people that are there, they're the people who you'd want to hear what their
mm,
thoughts are.
mm.
Yeah.
And there's also that honesty too. Being honest what your intentions are with your channel and with your viewers. I mean, people are going to respect that,
Right.
so long as you're being honest about it. So that's something I think people undervalue. It's like they're sometimes, I guess, they're afraid of what people might think, or just generally nervous about trying to change something or be vulnerable enough to express what they want out of their stream, being the
Yeah.
streamer. But like, it's your stream. You're allowed to want things
Yeah.
and get things out of your stream. It's your stream.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think that's the hardest part. Um, Especially if you've worked a bunch of different jobs or really any, I don't want to say like regular job, but any job outside of this kind of industry is
Hmm.
that it's not your choice unless like you're the owner or the boss. You always have somebody else telling you, hey, this is what you do.
Hmm.
That's it. You can't do this other thing. So being able to be the person who technically is in charge of that
Hmm.
is very difficult at times to
There's a
get back into
reason
that
why
mentality.
most corporations have like teams of people that spend millions of dollars in research to make those decisions. It's because
Exactly. Yeah.
they're not just easy, obvious decisions to make.
Yeah. The amount of different jobs that one stream is.
Mm-hmm. It's really challenging. All right. Well, we've touched on 2 topics already: marbles and anxiety, completely unrelated. No crossover whatsoever. Which road do you want to go down? You want to go down the marble road? Do you want to go down the anxiety road?
Hmm. Either or. I'm very good at decisions and making them for myself.
Hmm.
It's your show.
Okay. Well,
Like,
as this is losing our marbles, we'll start with the marbles, and then we'll lose them. So
and then we'll go to losing it. Gotcha.
we'll keep it. All right. So Marble Fest.
Marble Fest.
So
Oh, geez,
excited.
I have really cool plans. I don't want to talk about them because I don't know if they're gonna
You don't
happen,
you
but I
don't
have
have to.
really cool
I'm not
plans.
looking for I'm not looking for tea here. You
Oh,
can
good, because I'm almost done with
you
it.
can keep the secrets. But congratulations. It's very exciting.
Thank you.
I've had my
Thank you.
eyes on a lot of new Marble streamers, and almost all of them are in Marble Fest. So
I was not expecting to get an invite to it
I,
at
I
all. And I
kind of
feel like it's the
was.
perfect one because it's the ocean themed and the
Hmm.
new the
Hmm.
new skin for it is so cute. Like it is like it's so cute.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Um, yeah.
You and Sauce, I was not surprised at all to see in there, and then there were a couple there that I was surprised but happy surprised to see it. Like, oh yeah, they made it too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this will be my first community event
Hmm.
within the
Hmm.
Marbles community.
You see, you
So
got in
I'm
late. You're talking to an old timer here. I come back from the
yeah.
days when you could buy marble skins for your stream. You could buy
Mm.
tournament packages. There was a mid-season and end-season tournament that was like regular every month, going. Like there was used to be big events there. And that's actually kind of the lead-in question here is marble events in general.
Mhm.
So on that theme, let's pretend we are 3 weeks in the future and you've had great success in your Marble Fest endeavors. Would
Mhm.
you consider more regular marble events of a bigger scale or a bigger scope on some like monthly or 2 monthly basis of some kind.
Yeah, I would definitely want to. Like I said, I love the community and um I like being able to be part of communities, but also I get nervous about trying to like get into them. So like if people wanted me to do more Marvel things, 100% I would love to.
Mm-hmm.
But
It's
yeah.
I highly recommend it. Having created and been involved in a lot of different successful Marvel events over the seasons.
Yeah.
Um,
No. I like the idea of it. I unfortunately miss most of the ones that people do because of my stupid sleep schedule that
mhm,
I
mhm,
have. But like I see some of the things that people like post on like the Twitter and whatnot. And just they're so creative and they look like such a good time and it's really cool.
mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I do kind of like divvy up the marbles community in a couple different categories, kind of demographically, I guess.
Mhm.
And so there is the general prime time. Well, let's go to the beginning. So like reset 10 a.m. That's your grinder centrals. So most grinders need to be streaming by noon,
Mhm.
and most viewers will have found their streams to grind in by noon. And you know it progresses throughout the day, but that's kind of the 10 to 2 windows, that gearing up of the day. And then you
Right.
kind of have your international overlap at around that 4 to 6 period. So 4 p.m. is like prime time marbles, and that's because American time zones are getting into full gear. European time zones are still going. There's you got a late night Korean and other regions there going. Only
Mhm.
caveat there is usually the Australia crew. They're usually more in that first in the grinder morning thing. But so that's like the overlap mid demographic.
Mhm.
Um, but then this new phenomenon that's been taking over, late night, like 7 p.m. and on, has always been kind of what I call the talk show streamers. Uh, the
Mhm.
the OG of that, in my opinion, would be Sportscast Squad and Two Frothy Beards. If you've not been in a Two Frothy Beards
I
marble
don't think
stream,
I have.
they are the quintessential late night marbles show. Like Daveness kind of created that genre way back, and Daveness also in Marvel Fest. Good stuff. But he kind of created that genre way back when,
Mhm.
and it's hard to describe, but the closest I can describe is like it's kind of like that talk show vibe. Blizzy, Blizzard Girl, does a very good job of it. You do a very good job of it. And kind of it's kind of like having the chat as the guest to the talk show.
Mhm.
So there's still the plan of the talk show and the usual schedule and framework of what your stream is going to be, and then the guest of the chat is kind of that flavor to each episode.
Right.
So Two Frothy Beers does a great job of that. So just recently, because Pixel has gotten off of the studio events and gone to the community events, there's a new void to fill, and Sportscast Squad is doing his Thursday nights for his show, which is
Mhm.
good, the happy hour. But I would say, beyond that, there's really nothing in a regular community um, event situation. So
Yeah.
if I were to suggest something to you, you know, a late night, weekly, or monthly event of some kind with marbles involved would probably be successful because there's no competition right now.
I
So,
do like being successful because I don't have to compete.
so if I
My big thing is coming up with ideas to do stuff like that.
right.
Um, yeah, because I'm not very good at that part. Like I'm good at ideas, but not like ideas.
Mm,
Um, like specific things, like very specific
right.
ideas
We could okay, so we
kind of
could
thing.
we could actually dissect that a little bit if you're willing. We could.
Sure,
You want to get into this? 'Cause this is something I find kind of fascinating. Um,
I can try to.
so, and this kind of goes a little bit to what we were just talking about, like the international audience versus the American audience, in
Mhm.
that it may not seem like it to most Americans being in it, but comparatively to the world, our anomaly as a society is being right leaning in our politics,
Hmm.
but being optimistic in like a almost a leftist optimism. Um, and to extrapolate that, um, you see a lot of businesses that require creative and daring ideas founding themselves in America rather than other places because there isn't that established cynicism and skepticism that older cultures have. And I really do believe it's an older culture phenomena. Um, I couldn't nail down the exact parameters, but like a rough ballpark is like anytime a culture surpasses about 1,000 years, there's
Hmm.
kind of that this is the way we do things mentality that can kind of like cement things in place. And not to say that there isn't cultural progression in those cultures over time, but it's very much more iceberg as one slow moving unit rather than
Hmm.
that spark of revolution that America seems to still be holding on in its teenage years. We're definitely a teenage nation. We're fighting with everybody. We don't know who we are. We're getting our hands involved in
Uh,
everything.
I would have
Very
never
much
thought of a country as a teenager, but
we're very
no,
much
that's
teenagers.
mm,
And on the time scale, that's about it, right? 250 years. You know, we're not a baby, but
yeah.
we're definitely not an adult country. And I forget who it was. It might have been Stephen Fry doing an interview, but I think it was his documentary series on America. But he was trying to touch. He was talking to lead creative, one of the creative leads for Apple, and
Hmm.
asking like why America, why here, why Silicon Valley, things like that. And the response was that the fragility of an idea, especially the fragility of a human with an idea, it's so easily just broken because
Hmm.
it's so you can so quickly say, well, here's a problem, or that's not going to work because, which is
Right.
true. But you could just as easily say, oh, well, that will work because, or oh, there's a good thing about that.
Right.
And that comes down to kind of your scope, what we would call an ontology, how you look at it. And
Hmm.
so, whereas most of the more, as I've described as cynical cultures, would say, we don't need that new thing, it works fine as it is. Um, they would point out why they don't need to change because, oh, but then you're going to cause all these problems that will need to be solved.
Right.
Um, Whereas America is like, no, we'll do that. That's great. Let's go for it. What? Who knows what that'll lead to? Like, we're going to the moon. Let's do it. How are we going to get there? I don't know. There's 10,000 more problems we got to solve now, so let's do it. Right? Like,
Yeah.
but the end result being you get to the moon, right?
Hmm.
And so now that we've completely lost chat of the entire conversation when we started, going back to what you were touching on, in that the infancy of an idea and then bringing that idea into reality,
Yeah.
that's where most ideas die. And that's not to say that's
Yep.
a failure on the person having the idea, it's just the nature of ideas.
Yeah.
I had a friend I was living with who wanted to start a yoga cushion business. And he was running ideas by me, and I was like, yeah, but it just doesn't seem like a good idea for where you're at right now.
Right.
And they kind of accosted me for having this like negative initial reaction and not being supportive of their idea, which is a justified problem to have. But the comparison I made was, I'm excited that you've bought a race car. I just want to make sure there's an engine in it before we start signing up for the F1 races. Like,
Right.
like I'm happy, yeah, race car, awesome. But if there's no engine in it, like, don't be signing up for any races anytime soon. So it's
You got
like,
to work on more of the making sure the whole thing is there before.
right. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
you have an artist, fantastic, but no supplier. And then where are we keeping all of these yoga cushions? Like, are we just going to sacrifice half of the common room and stack it with boxes? Or are we going to rent a warehouse? Like, there's a lot of things to
Mhm.
work out. And that's kind of where those ideas start to die. So I wouldn't
Right.
I wouldn't look down on yourself for coming to that juxtaposition of really good at having ideas but not great at getting the ideas into reality, because most ideas don't
Yeah.
survive that. I wouldn't say that's any reflection on you as a human being.
Yeah. No, it's definitely more of a I just have so many ideas but not enough information to go off them yet.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like I have this one idea for stream that I've had at least since January, which is a lot longer ago than I feel like it was, but I haven't done it yet. But I have enough of an idea that eventually I'll get to it. I just haven't done it yet. And then I just got another idea like a week ago that's probably going to take a very long time before
Hmm.
that actually happens. So it's more, I'm very good at having that very base idea, but then
Hmm.
actually going to and putting the work onto the idea itself and the time
Hmm.
to get the idea to fruition is the word, I think.
Yep, that's the word.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's all good stuff. I like it. Um, what about marbles specifically? And this is like loosely in the context of like event ideas and stuff like that. But what is about
Mhm.
marbles specifically that draws you to it?
So originally one of the big reasons that I wanted to do marbles is because with my community, chat and talking to chat and that interaction is the most important part. So trying to find a game that I can really balance
Mm-hmm.
between playing and chat interaction is a very big thing. And being able to not only still be able to talk to them, but have them participate in it
Yeah.
was one of the biggest reasons. And it's, for me, it's just a nice kind of like chill hangout with, like, if you're like at a bar playing a game on TV with a
Mm-hmm.
group of your friends kind of thing. That's kind of how it feels, and that's what really drew me to it.
Mm-hmm. I could see that for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to think what I mean. That's a big draw for a lot of people. Absolutely, is
Yeah.
the ability for it. The game doesn't demand your focus 100% of the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
It has natural breaks in it, and even in between the breaks, you can choose your level of focus and involvement. And
Mhm.
that kind of flexibility, I think, is a big key to the success of the game itself.
Right.
Um, I would wonder if there were a way to kind of expand that notion into a more exclusive event that's more chat based. Because most marbles events obviously are going to be featuring the marbles game itself. But rather
Right.
than that, maybe using marbles to engage the chat in either almost like a Q&A session maybe. And like if you win the race, you get to ask a question and then you talk about that topic until the end of the next race, and then that winner gets to choose the next topic of conversation. Like something like that might be interesting.
The
Your thought?
biggest thing with that, I like it a lot, but my it's so easy to get off topic that there's no way I think that my brain can handle one topic for a long enough time to
But that would be the fun of the whole
do
show. Would
it.
be like, will
Yeah.
mermaid actually like stick to the conversation this
We could
time?
put predictions up at the beginning of the stream.
Exactly. See, look at this. We already got the whole thing worked out. It'd be great. Ugh. But no, yeah, I'll definitely bounce any ideas I have off you if you want,
Yeah.
because, like I said, I think the that late night talk show demographic outside of Sportscast Squad's happy hour is still kind of looking for those bigger
Yeah.
events, and
Yeah. There
I
really
think
isn't much that happens overnight for stuff. You're definitely right.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, we're going back to anxiety now.
Okay.
Hey, you said it first. I'm just jumping off of
Hey,
it.
I'm a pro at the topic. It's fine.
I'm assuming it's something you're fairly open about in your streaming and whatnot.
Yeah, for the most part. I used to be a lot more open with things that have to do with mental health and streaming, because I think it's important.
Mm-hmm.
However, I feel like as the stream has gotten bigger, I haven't talked about it as much, which is a very interesting thing. I was just thinking about this yesterday, actually. Um, and I think the reason is I don't want to say or do anything that could affect the rest of the chat negatively, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, it is important stuff to talk about. So it's finding that good mix between the two kind of thing. But
Okay.
I think the anxiety portion of it, I'm usually pretty upfront. If I'm like, hey guys, my anxiety sucks tonight, so bear with me.
We're gonna
So
do no cam, no mic until I can at least turn the mic back on, and then.
I'm just gonna hide, and you guys get to hold on. Can I do this?
Uh oh.
Can
We're
I do
doing we're
this?
doing
Hold
real
on.
time visual effects work here, ladies and gentlemen.
Um,
I got
where
my
is
error
it?
button on cue here. I can cut any moment things go wrong. Don't worry.
I don't know where it is. It's not this one. Where are you? Where are you? It's not this one, is it? No. I can't find them.
Oh no.
Shit.
Oh no.
Is it just in one of these random scenes? There it is. I could
It's
just say, hey guys, look
Cherokee.
at Cherokee for a
Oh,
minute.
this is hot tub Cherokee. Hold on, I gotta change my category. Hold on. Let me. I,
And I can just be like, just look at that. Just look at that. I'm just gonna hide for a little bit and breathe. You guys just use TTS if you want to hear words. I'll just
Mhm.
press random sound buttons. It's all good. It's all good.
I do like
So,
that chat can make Cherokee talk. I feel like that's an excellent little facet you've been able to add on to that.
yeah, and I'm very lucky to have wonderful people in my community that can help me make stuff like that happen.
Mm-hmm, hmm.
Because now that Cherokee's mouth can move, I think it really added something to that.
Hmm.
And that's the type of thing when I talk about chat interaction. That was chat's idea to have Cherokee talk, kind of. Or I don't know if I said something or chat said something, but it wouldn't have happened. Cherokee wouldn't have happened if it
Right,
wasn't for chat.
right.
So adding that as a thing too.
It's very good. It's
Yeah.
a very good idea. Is there a particular is it based so I'm gonna reveal something about myself in the hopes that you will reveal something about yourself.
Okay.
Little little psychological trick we're gonna implement here. Um, so I have several different characters I employ for my stream based on what I'm doing, um,
Mhm.
and the idea being that I want to color different aspects of stream different ways,
Okay.
and especially when it comes to marbles, each mode of marbles has different strengths. So the battle royale has a strength, the racing has a strength, the tilting has a strength, the map making has a strength.
Right.
Each facet does something differently. Um, and I always felt like the strongest part of tilting was its competitive ability. You
Mhm.
can kind of create competitive events in racing. There's the speedrunning stuff that's been going around lately. There's the
Mhm.
challenge maps now. So there's stuff like that. But Tilted lends itself to it so easily, especially now that Pixel has implemented a seed strategy so that you can have everyone put in the same seed so that they all have the same tilt board so that it's really not up to RNG and up to the competitors to show
I
their
didn't know
skills.
about that. I don't know anything about
Well, you
tilting.
should stop by on Saturdays every day at 7 p.m. for Teaching Tilted, hosted by Shen's TV.
I'll try to get up early on that day. That's one of my sleep in till 7:30 days. I guess I could
It's a long running stream. I actually
okay.
tied a pineapple to my head last time and went on for about 7 hours. So
With a pineapple?
yeah, like
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 a real one?
a real. It was surprisingly easy. I grabbed a shoestring out of my supply closet and I did once around the top of the pineapple and then just like chin strapped it, and it worked pretty well. It's kind of surprising. The
That's
memes have been nonstop. Every day I wake up and there's like 30 unread messages in my Discord of what
I'm
people have
sure.
have done with the pineapple meme. But if that doesn't get you waking up by 7:30, I don't know what will. But the
I
point
mean,
being,
is it's part of tilting now is you have to wear the
well,
pineapple every time you
here's the
tilt,
issue. I
right?
got a PB doing it. So
Oh.
so it's kind of like, well, now I have to do it.
Yeah, you can't just start something or say something and think chat's gonna forget.
Right, right. So,
They never forget.
no. And anyway, point being, the character I use for the tilting is Ignorance, and Ignorance is an old revived character of when I used to do like the Hidden, which was a Half-Life 2 mod. I was like, I don't know if it was actually Half-Life 2, but it's one of the Half-Life mods,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple other first-person shooter games in there. But basically, it was kind of like this try-hard gamer mode, and that being one of my least favorite things about online gaming communities is the uh, vitriolic try-hard gamer.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the character is designed to embody all of that, and I've ruffled some feathers,
Oh
especially in
no.
the tilt community with that character, and people not realizing that it's just a character and
Yeah.
taking things the wrong way. And it's like, well, I'm not gonna get upset with you for not liking him because you're not supposed to like him because it's everything I don't like about those kinds of people. But like,
Right.
if
It's
you don't get that
specifically the
that's the
point.
joke, like,
Yeah.
I can't help you. Uh, so that's kind of my approach, is that there's a way to embody a character to kind of exaggerate things that you see in humanity that either you like or don't like, and can just
Yeah.
kind of make a character out of it. Um, is there any parallel to that in Cherkini? Is that drawing off of anything you may or may not like or dislike in the streaming communities?
Um, so you'd think that it would be, because it would make a lot of sense that it would be, but no. Um, I it was just going on to the hot tub meta,
Mm-hmm.
but I personally I think it's great. Like you do you if it works.
Mm.
There's a wonderful member of the stream team that I'm on that's her main thing is doing cool flow art things in a hot tub, and it's really really cool. But while that was a big thing, I don't know exactly how it came to be because I had also switched my BRB to make it so I didn't have to throw a BRB screen up to just I just had a picture of the chair and I'd press a button and I'd just disappear. And somehow the conversation I have no idea how it came up, but it was a weird conversation in chat and it just put it in. And since then, it's just been a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So and now Cherkini is just the bane of my existence, but mainly because for some stupid reason, that's me and that's the wrong thing. Shit, wrong scene. It would help if I named these instead of scene 3 and scene 4. But
It would help.
it's drinking something in a cup that does not look like it should be drinkable.
It
So
looks
that's
like
the main
shark. Are those
problem.
shark teeth? What is in that?
It's definitely not soup.
It's not soup.
It's not chicken noodle soup.
Okay.
It's not.
I'm gonna call it shark tooth lemonade. I think.
It's really intimidating. There's the drink.
Oh, okay. So they're like swirly noodle bits, I guess. Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All
Fair
right.
enough. I can.
That's
I will say
that's true.
the steps on the front of the hot tub at first glance make it kind of look like a printer, but.
I think that would be better. So that's Cherokee.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's nothing specific, just random
Just
thought out thing.
the amalgamation of the will of chat.
Yes.
Any fear or jealousy as it becomes more popular than you with chat?
Cherokee would never be more popular than me. I do not have to fear Cherokee. I
Okay.
do not have to be
Hmm.
jealous of Cherokee.
Uh huh.
Um, I could take Cherokee out of existence whenever I
You
want,
could.
for
Yes, you
sure. I
could.
have
You
power.
do have
It
power over
definitely,
Cherokee.
I'm the one with the power,
Hmm. Hmm. But
for
you did
sure.
also state that you kind of bend to the will of chat because chat's the most important thing. So if chat were to demand Cherokee, I mean,
No, they could ask right now. They could be like, give us Cherokee, and I wouldn't. It wouldn't
hmm,
happen. It wouldn't be possible.
understood. Understood.
Sorry, I'm just looking at where are they? Just
Oh man, it's
But I might worry a little bit that chat does like Cherokee more than me.
mhm.
But it's okay. Um, because I don't care. I don't. It doesn't bother.
Man.
Oh, but that's kind of the type of thing that I love about streaming is that stupid stuff like that becomes reality somehow. Yeah.
The I often am put into a position where I have to, like, I make a lot of YouTube content,
Mhm.
so I'm always keeping in my mind, like, am I pacing this properly enough for an edit? Do I need to set this next situation up ahead of time so that there's a bit of a punchline when it happens? There's
Mhm.
always that, like, meta narrative going on.
Right.
And the problem being, at some points, in order to understand where the next direction or what the next punchline is, I have to just objectively observe myself in the situation. And there was a moment on Saturday when I had to, like, I was trying to make a joke into forming like a religion of pineapple. And the joke was supposed to be, so saith the pineapple, so saith us all. It was what chat concluded on. I
Mhm.
had primed that with just saying "so saith the fruit" because like something happened in the tilt run. And I was like, this needed to happen. It was the will of the fruit, so saith the fruit, right?
Yeah.
Um, but then I was like, okay, where do we go with this? And I just had to like, I looked at OBS and I looked at myself with a pineapple strapped to my head saying "so saith the fruit," and I just lost it. I just like, what like I took a moment to actually analyze what was going on in my stream at that point in time, and I was like,
Yeah.
none of this makes any sense. None of this should be happening. What is wrong with everyone involved here? Like,
This is what is happening in my life right now, kind of thing.
exactly, exactly. So
Yeah.
I know that feeling well. It's like, what have I created? And dear
Yes.
Lord. um, Unfortunately, we're on hiatus right now, but Baxcast, another streamer, um, he and I do a show called Record Hunters together, and
Mhm.
that has created so many things that just beyond our control. Like it's that runaway roller coaster kind of a thing. It's like we're just strapping in and we're going for the ride, and we don't really get a say in what happens. We just have to keep the car moving.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of the joys of streaming. I think that unexpected creativity.
Oh yeah, for sure.
If anything, it's just more reason for us all to join the hive mind, submit to the will. Things are
Yes.
better that way.
Things are better. Think, things are better that way. Shit, I
Yeah.
can't get out of this because I don't have the other thing on my stream deck.
I mean that did the job.
Perfect.
I don't. I think you made the point quite well there.
Thank you.
I guess we got one more topic here before we go into complete transition here.
Okay.
Social media in general. Um, I would say very important to streaming communities for sure.
Yes.
Um, I actually remembered I had a Twitter today after 8 days of not posting. So I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Gotta post every day. I am doing as good as I can. I'm trying to make my Twitter better. Um, for some reason, I felt like I needed to check it to explain Twitter, which is not how that
Mm-hmm,
works.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But social media, Twitter is a big one. TikTok is the big one right now. And it is so hard to make videos for TikTok
Mm-hmm.
and to like put that out. But when it comes to getting you know, stuff from outside of Twitch into Twitch, because Twitch's discoverability is not
Yes, yes.
great for the most part. So utilizing that social media is important, but actually figuring out how to,
Mm-hmm.
you can look at as many guides on it as you want. Nobody knows what they're doing, so it's not going to really help. You just kind of have to post and hope that people will think it's funny or something, or
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's a difficult thing. I definitely need to work on it better. Yeah.
I've been contemplating TikTok for a long time. I have one, but I haven't created any content for it yet.
Yeah,
And
it's hit or miss.
what I'm kind of settled on at the moment is doing like a, because for marbles racing, my strength is commentary, high speed
Mhm.
commentary. So my idea was like everyday things, but with high speed commentary on top of it.
That's
So
a
like
cool
I would
idea.
record myself like going to the mailbox and coming back, but then doing like really in depth, detailed, analytical commentary behind it, and just being as absurd as possible with the concept. But
That's a wonderful idea, and you definitely should do that.
right, but as you've
Definitely.
discussed,
Yeah,
there's a
actually doing it.
journey from that point to it actually happening that has not
Yeah,
happened yet.
yeah. But TikTok's discoverability has gone way down because they introduced promoted not tweets, promoted videos.
Mm.
But that if you promote them, it really doesn't do much either if you spend money on it. But because of that, their algorithm changed. Their
Oh.
algorithm doesn't make any sense. I can't figure out how to do it. Whether it's using the hashtags, the sounds, the filters,
Mm-hmm.
TikTok is just throw it into the wind and hope kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, I think there's two ways to approach TikTok, especially with the concept of the algorithm. Because the thing TikTok does really well is it shows people the videos they want to see. It's
Right.
very good at dissecting and building the viewing habits of its users.
Yeah.
So the one approach there would be kind of just finding out what little nook of TikTok your viewers are in and then trying to
Right.
create content for that.
Yeah.
And then the other one's more like the trend hopping kind of a thing, which would fall into the promoted idea as well,
Yeah.
is where you just kind of have to see if there's something trending that you can get on the bandwagon of, and then, like you said, just throw your version of it out there and hope it sticks somewhere.
Right. Right.
So I could
It's
definitely see that.
it's a confusing land of things, and unfortunately, it is a necessary part of content creation. I know some people hate that term, uh, but it is a necessary part of it. And I mean, even social media such as YouTube, like you said, you do things for YouTube. I do not. I
Mm-hmm.
have almost nothing on my YouTube. I do not understand it at all. I don't know how video editing works,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know how to transfer content to it. All I have are a couple dancing videos, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that YouTube's a big one um, that's important for streamers and stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just figuring out how content works and how things work.
Yeah. I use YouTube in kind of three different ways.
Mhm.
Um, I have the archival use. So if I have a big event like a tilted competition, it's just a 2 hour block. I just upload the whole thing straight up. Just so
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I missed, 2 weeks ago's tilting competition. Go on YouTube and watch it. Um, and then there is the more promotional content. So if I do like commercials for my tracks, or if I'm hosting an event, or just
Mhm.
promoting the channel in general, I'll be able to do that. And that's much more of like the edited, polished, 2 weeks finessing the editing and everything like that on it.
Right.
And then the other one's like a tutorial based. And tutorial has always been the strength of my channel. The first videos I ever made were tutorials for Hearthstone. And
Mhm.
those hit like 1 in 2,000 like the first week, which was exciting. And my tilting tutorial just hit 1,000 too, which I didn't even know there were 1,000 people tilting, let alone checking my my tutorials. So that was exciting to see.
Yeah.
So the tutorial's always been my most successful, but they also take the most work. It's literally like at least an hour for every minute of video. So if I'm making a 5 minute tutorial video, it's going to take me 5 hours just to put it together, let alone collecting the clips for it and
Mhm.
screenwriting it and all that stuff, or storyboarding it. So
Yeah.
it's not something you just do.
Yeah. No, from anybody who I know that's talked about doing YouTube, it just like you don't realize the amount of work that goes into a YouTube video.
Hmm.
Like it's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, the fun experiment people can do actually is like go watch a popular YouTube video, like just a PewDiePie video, and like get a counter of some kind, either like a digital counter or just a thumb clicker,
Mhm.
and count every cut in the video.
Mhm.
Like every time it zooms in instantaneously, every time it jumps between two moments in the same clip, just like count every cut and then realize that each one of those cuts had to be cropped and timed to the first frame, timed to the last frame, and then
Mhm.
put back into the main video. And you'll be staggered by the number.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Something you can try at home. Let's see. I think I have one more big blanket question here, and we're at
Okay.
about 8:30, so I guess that kind of works since we started a little late. Um, I don't know. Do you want to midstream mix up, or do you want to go one more conversation before we swap this around?
To you. I don't mind another conversation.
Okay. So let's go into the topic of gender. It's actually something I surprisingly don't get into very often
Okay.
um, for my talk shows. I've done it like once or twice, but not as often as I'd like. And that might be my own personal reservations with things I struggle with. But
Mhm.
I believe you advertise as non-binary, correct?
Yep.
They them pronouns.
Yep.
Um, do you see yourself as more fluid or just not in the
So
standard labeling system?
it's definitely changed over the past few years because I used to feel more fluid. Now it's more just not. It's more just a non-existent thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there are days where it's definitely more one way or another way. Um, but for the most part, it's just kind of like something not existing. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if but and because the thing too with it is that it depends on the day. The days where it's just kind of like nothing, I don't usually have to deal with dysphoria stuff. But on days where it's certain, like more masculine or more feminine,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the more masculine days, dysphoria sucks.
Mm.
So there is still the fluidity for that too, but it's less fluidity between one or the other and more fluidity through everything.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
I can kind of see that. I mean, I do have. I think my more feminine side comes out with dressing up. Really,
Mhm.
um, definitely have more of like a lesbian kind of identity.
Yeah.
Um, but anytime I do go toward more the more feminine outfits than the masculine outfits, definitely a lot more picky about my appearance.
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate to that kind of notion of dysphoria. Just like this has to be right. I don't like any of this. Throw it all in the
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think that's a big part that a lot of people who don't struggle with it don't realize is that sometimes the act of getting dressed is almost impossible. There's days where it takes me over an hour
Mm-hmm.
throwing everything out of my bureau, trying different things and just like having a breakdown
Mm-hmm.
because nothing is right.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think people really talk about that side of gender identity much
Mm.
because it's not easy to. It's way easier to just pretend that like I definitely know everything about who I am and I'm completely comfortable with myself. But it's not always like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And
I
some
think
days you don't know, and then you get dressed and you're like, oh wait, this is wrong. Just switches. Yeah.
yeah. I think for me, at least, using characters more than myself for streaming definitely helps with that. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I don't have to decide. It's the character's already established of who's going to be streaming today.
Yeah.
But definitely in personal life, it can be a lot more taxing for sure.
Yeah.
Um, there was a moment where I was when I went to go get my haircut. I got my haircut for like first time in 2 years
Mhm.
because of COVID. But yeah, I spent like at least half an hour trying to figure out like what the hell am I gonna wear to go get my haircut
Yeah.
because I hadn't gone out in public for a while, and I was gonna
Yeah.
hit a couple new shops and introduce myself and kind of feel out the town a little bit. So I wanted to be feeling myself a bit more,
Right.
and that's hard, especially when most of the time you're not being yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I have to actually struggle with my identity for a moment. I can't just ignore this for another day. I have to actually pay attention to this.
Yeah, it's the now time to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
It was interesting that you said that, like you said you struggle a bit more with the more masculine days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I do struggle with the more feminine days, and that might just be like strictly biological in that like
Mhm.
you'll see how biological men express themselves in a masculine way, or how
Yeah.
biologically female people will express themselves in a feminine way, and you kind of want to emulate that,
Yeah.
but like geometrically you can't. Like your hips are in a different
Yep.
spot, and your torso is in a different shape. It's like
Yeah.
it's not as simple as just putting on a suit or putting on a dress. Like,
Yeah, like even just putting on a binder, it's like this doesn't do what I want to do exactly specifically because I can still tell. And it's the need to feel like I pass kind of thing. And like I'm also a very just a small person anyway, so
mm,
it's harder for me to feel like I pass. Not that there's not plenty of guys who are small, but for me, I feel like that's one of the things that makes it harder.
mm,
Um, because that's why those days struggle. It's just wanting to pass for myself.
right.
Like, do I look like I would see myself and not think, oh, girl,
Mm,
which I hate thinking of myself as a girl because I don't and I'm not. And it's one of those really weird things to even think of, you know?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But I know that when I go out, that's how people will perceive me.
right.
And I don't want that to be how people perceive me.
Mm-hmm.
Not that it matters if how a stranger sees me or if the grocery store person uses the wrong pronouns, but like it also does.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Except at the zoo.
Because
I
it's
did one time pass as a boy at the zoo, I think, because I was wearing a big hoodie. And we got tickets and we had discounted tickets because we had a plan with like the aquarium and it was way less expensive than we thought. It's because we got a child's ticket because I think they thought that I was like a 12-year-old boy.
congratulations.
So I passed then, kind of.
Mazel tov.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
But with streaming, I try really hard to just have my streaming look
right.
and to not, but some days you have to, but
Sometimes you got to let
yeah.
your anglerfish out. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I have to say, finger heart anglerfish might be my favorite thing I've seen on your stream. That's pretty good.
I wanted it to work
It's
so
pretty good.
bad.
It's pretty dang good.
Oh, thank
Um,
you.
quick question in chat from Electric Ari. Any pronoun works. Um, I kind of field my pronouns as it's almost like kind of an intimacy thing, more of a like how well people know me. Like if people referred to me in the feminine, I would probably be very flattered if they knew the context in which to do that properly. Whereas if they just kind of did it, I would take it more of an insult. like so it's hard to say like what my pronouns are, but I always default to the easiest ones of just he him. But as long as you are being genuine with the pronouns you're using to describe me, I would respect it for sure. And in some situations, be highly flattered that you viewed me that way. So, yeah, well, good stuff. I like it. Um, I have nowhere to go from here. You know what we do in this situation? We go for the midstream mix up! Yeah! Let's mix this bad boy up. Get us out of the weeds. Oh, man. All right. Um, we've roughly discussed the possibility of doing a costume change. Normally, the mystery mix-up's more like an on-camera activity that we can do. But would you be up for just like putting up an away screen for like 2 minutes and just like coming back completely new, start fresh?
Um, do you guys want a cute BRB scene or do you want Cherokee?
I mean,
I mean, I can make decisions for myself. The
Cherokeen's not.
difference is either this
Oh, I kind of like that one. It's not quite
or
cropped.
this. It's not cropped right, but that's fine.
I do.
I
I
can,
do like the. I like. I like the first one, to be honest.
okay, we do the alien one.
Because
And I
I'll
can
have
fix the be right
I'll
back.
have my chair up, and then there'll at least be one chair on the screen, and then I guess we'll get some music to go in, and we'll just come back as we're ready.
All right, sounds good.
So mystery mix up, a little different than normal, but we shall return
Falls painting, house painting, Picasso.
as soon as I get this music going.
State Farm small business insurance.
So street, summer air brushed fever dreams. Disappeared in a camera flash. Why do the bad girls never last? Lost in gin and lemonade, electro spins in the mermaid parade. Four quartets and no regrets, except for the Polaroids I left. You
Fantastic.
just some spell I was under.
It's so well themed.
We did it.
We did it. Go team. Love it. Well, we're in the second half of the show, so you're at full liberty to take the reins here.
Oh, yeah, that part. Hold on. Let me take my anglerfish hand off to look at the thing that I definitely have prepared. All right, so specifically when I'm asking questions, does it matter the context and stuff, or can I just ask random questions?
That's your call. That's your call.
Okay. So the first question is, if you had to make a list of 9 questions to ask Shen's TV, what would they be?
Ooh, no one has ever asked that question before. That's a really good question. Damn. I never thought I would get out-meted in my own channel. That's the first. Congrats.
You're welcome.
Round of applause.
I'm very
Everyone
good.
in chat, round of applause.
Do my sound alerts work? I don't think they will.
Probably not. No. Unless you're.
I can hear them. I don't know if anybody else can.
If your mic was
They were
audio
so
out in
loud.
Discord, then I would
Damn
hear
it.
them. But
Oh well. Well, pretend there was a clapping noise.
fantastic.
All right.
Do I need to actually answer this question?
No.
That's a good one, though. That's really good.
Thank you. I'm very proud of that.
I might
one.
have to use that in future endeavors. If I'm ever asked to go on someone else's show to ask questions, I will
Yes,
ask
definitely
what
do.
questions I should ask. I like it.
So, okay. Now you said you have different characters that you
Mm.
use. How many characters do you have, and what are they?
We formally recognize 5. There is Shen, who is the casual, get everything done kind of guy, just like your worker grunt, getting everything done for stream. There's Shen's TV, who's a bit more of the bubbly, engaging commentator. So most of the commentary stuff is Shen's TV doing that. There's Ignorance, who's the try-hard gamer, so he does the more serious knuckle-down stuff and competitive stuff. And then there's Louisiana Jones. Louisiana Jones, completely unlike Cherokee, is by far the least popular character of my channel, the least requested character of my channel, and certainly of no interest to anyone in my community. By far.
I feel like there might be some sarcasm there, but I'm not sure.
No. But I think the role that Louisiana Jones plays, he's kind of the co-host to Shen's TV for certain events, most exclusively currently being Thursday Flare. But he embodies the being at the job you don't want to be at. All right? Just like hiding behind all the rules and using everything given to your discretion to just get through the job any way possible. So I think that's the appeal of him. It's like anyone who's worked retail knows there are things you can and cannot say to customers. And
Right.
every once in a while, a customer will talk themselves into a corner. And you can't help but get that smile on your face of like, oh, good. Now I get to say all the things in the handbook. And I don't have to actually do anything anymore. Now I can just regurgitate the corporate information to this person and piss them off more and more and more. And there's nothing they can do about it because that's what I've been instructed to do as an employee of this company. So anyone who's had to field that kind of situation, I think, has an affinity towards Louisiana Jones, he does not want to be there. He's only doing it because it's his job to do it, and he will make everyone around him miserable so long as he's doing it by the book. So, yeah. And then there's Dev. We generally don't talk about Dev. She's much smarter than a lot of us, a lot more powerful than a lot of us, and more often than not is probably watching, which is why we generally don't talk about her.
That's ominous.
Not at all. She's very kind and engaging as an entertainer.
Do you have a favorite out of your characters?
Ugh.
Are you allowed to choose favorites, or will
I
you
don't
get
know.
mad?
I don't know if I'm allowed to choose favorites. I would agree with Kraken. We need more Dev for sure. She does very well with Among Us. So if you ever play Among Us, Dev is
Ooh, I
really
love
good with
Among
Among
Us.
Us. But very good at testing things. Very good at making people very uncomfortable very quickly. And the less said, the better. But I don't know. Ignorance has a lot of utility, especially in the Marvels community, because that's what's gonna ruffle the most feathers and make the most noise.
Mhm.
But I think Shen's TV high speed commentary, if I could do just that and be successful, I would. For sure. So yeah. That's as
And
close
then,
of a definitive answer as I can give you.
I mean, that works. It's like choosing between your favorite pet or something too. You
Mm.
have. Um, so with Marvels, what got you started in Marvels? I know you said you've been doing it for quite a while.
Mhm. Been doing it since season 6. I think I started right at season 7. Um, I did StarCraft first, and then that found me some friends who were streaming. So I was doing more like YouTube kind of a stuff with a little bit of stream. And I found some people that streamed more that also did YouTube content. And they were doing like the prop hunt and the first person shooters and things like that. So I started helping them make YouTube videos. And then that got me wanting to stream more because the actual process of like playing with friends to generate entertaining content, like it was good to do that and then polish it for YouTube, but it was more fun just doing it long form in the moment and not having to worry about like achieving the end result and getting that last clip that you need. It was like whatever happened just happened. So it was a lot easier to execute on a regular basis. So that's kind of where I started. And then I did Hearthstone for a very long time. And that's kind of when I rebranded my channel and started to like take it a bit more seriously and consolidate everything. But Hearthstone's kind of saturated and not going anywhere. So I was looking for a new game and just browsing through Twitch to see what was going on, and came across the Marvels community, and I was like, well, this would be great for doing like high speed commentary and everything. And I was looking at all the channels, and none of them were like paying attention to the game. They were all doing the usual just chat and have Marvels in the background kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like it was wide open, and I just tackled it with high speed commentary for 5 months straight. And then Pixel found me, and I found Pixel, and started following other streamers, and just kind of decided felt like the community needed to be pushed and challenged. And so that's kind of the role I've had ever since, is just pushing and challenging the community to go further and not just sit on its haunches. And that kind of goes back to like the clashes I've had in tilting, is there are people who are very successful tilters but don't do much. They just, load up, stream, tilt, and then stream's over. and I won't look at them as favorably as people who aren't as good, but are in every tilting competition that everyone's hosting, and they stream a teaching tilting stream once a week, and they have like a Discord channel where everyone's sharing tilting stuff, right? Because those people are more valuable to the community to me than just someone who tilts really well.
Right.
And so I'll provoke those people in whatever way seems to fit that situation, and some take to it well, some don't take to it well. And that's no comment on them as individuals, because some people just want to tilt, that's their game. They just want to stream it, play it, and they don't care about doing anything else, which is fine. So I kind of learn who wants to be pushed, who doesn't want to be pushed, and spend my energy and time wisely rather than hitting my head against the brick wall.
Right.
So it's hard for some people to understand that, because especially now with Tilted, it kind of took over the meta with the changes Pixel made, and that's something I've been experimenting with and challenging and pushing since I think season 22. Well, 21 technically. Season 22, I organized a big tilt takeover where we were trying to get as many people to have 000 top 100 placements as viewers. So 000 is no races, no deaths, no wins. So when you look at the leaderboard, it's just 000 on the leaderboard, and people are like, they're cheating. What is this? It's like, no, they're tilting. So kind of started in season 21, made a big push in season 22. And since last season, Tilted took over the meta, which is something I've been like pushing for 7 seasons or 6 seasons. And I'm not involved in that as much anymore. And people are like, isn't this what you were trying to achieve for like 5 seasons? Like, why aren't you going for top 3 as a streamer? Why aren't you doing these kinds of things and throwing all your support behind all these people? It's like, because it's done. Like, I got to go to the next thing. Like, mission accomplished, move on. Like, I've sent direct messages to the people who are successful, congratulating them. I've sent them my support. The community supports them by and large, which is what I want, So like, I don't need to sit there and wallow in my success or whatever, because it's not my success. It's just something I helped encourage, and someone or a group of people latched onto it and are now going to develop it as much as possible, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. I can move on to the next thing.
Right.
So I feel like some people don't understand how I can push for something so hard and then abandon it right away as soon as it's successful. Like, they think like I've betrayed the movement or whatever, but it's just like, no, it's just, you got it. Go. This is your thing now. Go. Take it. I got 20 other things I got to get going.
Yeah.
There's so much more left in marbles.
done.
I can't sit here and stay. we gotta move on. So,
always trying to improve what's there. Yeah.
So, yeah. How about you? What's your, like, marbles community? How do you kind of view it, and do you want to be more active in it, or like, what's your take on it?
So I was incredibly surprised when I started doing marbles and started doing marbles more, because at first I wasn't planning on doing it every night and being really engaged in the community. I didn't even know there was a specific like marbles community. You can see what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, I got it. I got it.
And so once I realized that it was a very community game and there were people that were like, this is what I do, this is what Twitch is for me. I started wanting to do it more, and just being able to be part of something is so nice. And I was blown away by the community. It's just, there's so many amazing people, both viewers and streamers. It was definitely way more than I thought it would be. And I definitely will, even while going over to more variety stuff, I'll definitely be doing marbles at the absolute least once, if not twice a week, depending on the week schedules. And it's just, I think what drew me to staying with it was the community itself.
Hmm.
Also, it was just it was too fun. I do enjoy doing it. I love yelling names super duper fast at the end of a game.
Yeah.
That's my
Top 10,
favorite part.
baby. Top 10.
And I like that it's a game that's both competitive and you can like with the regular races, you have no control over it, but you feel like you do,
Mm-hmm.
and you're always going to root for yourself or for a certain person.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like an accomplishment when you get that top 10. And the cycling, I've been loving the cycle things. I usually don't do enough races for people to cycle. So if somebody does, it's an even bigger deal. Um, because I used to do way more. I was looking because with the cycling, I can see how many races I've done per stream.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to be getting close to 100. Now I'm at like 50. And it's like, am I really talking this much in between games now? But
Yeah.
yeah.
It's it's one of the freeing things with marbles too. Like we're talking like competitive versus spectator kind of a thing. Is
Mhm.
that with a lot of games, especially on Twitch, they're usually very skill based competitive.
Yeah.
So when you're doing commentary on performance, you always have to cushion it a little bit. Remember, there's a human being behind the screen name, and you know, not just like completely trash him or turn him into a god or whatever.
Right.
Um, but because marbles is completely RNG, everyone kind of understands that there's no person behind the marble. It's just it's not them as the marble. It's like their marble. It's like we all have a little pet rock that we're just throwing onto the field,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot more freedom in just being absolutely
Just
brutal, either in a positive or negative direction. Do you have an actual pet rock?
it's not really a pet. I just have a lot of rocks on my
Oh,
desk.
okay, that's fine. But yeah, there's a lot more feeling. There's a lot more freedom to kind of play with those concepts of performance that you can't do when there's actual people's skills on the line.
Yeah.
So
You can jokingly talk trash about somebody's marble without it being as personal as being like, "Huh, you suck at Fortnite, bro," or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
You
You
know?
can be toxic without actually hurting anyone.
Yeah, it gives you a fun way to be toxic without being like actually toxic.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. So yeah, Marvel's community very unique.
Yeah, it's incredible because it doesn't seem like the type of thing that you would think would have that,
Mm,
and then it does.
yeah,
So,
it's good stuff. Cool. What else you got?
um, when it comes to streaming on Twitch, what
Mm,
is your favorite and least favorite aspect of it?
like the platform itself.
Yes.
Hmm. I think Twitch really does embrace the interactivity of it. So
Mhm.
they are pretty good at continually experimenting with, emotes and levels of the emotes. Because now there's follower emotes, there's animated emotes, stuff like that. They have a lot of alert systems built in, which helps you field your chat and keep track of everything. Um, and just constantly leaning into that with channel points and notifications and allowing third parties to kind of work with the Twitch framework to get stuff. Like Marbles wouldn't happen if Twitch didn't allow Marbles to have access to the server data. So
Right.
that all works really well. Um, it's good that they constantly kind of embrace that interactivity and finding better ways to keep viewers engaged and make the platform unique on that level. Um, but I feel like they do lack follow through, right?
Mhm.
So they can have a really good idea and then they just have it available for partners for testing or whatever, and then
Mhm.
it just disappears. Or they put out one thing that's kind of roughly polished and then they never fix it for like 2 years. And then they like redesign the whole thing, and then finally it's good again. So it always seems like there's a lack of follow through with Twitch. Like they're very good at experimenting, but then they never give the support required to make those changes actually as impactful as they could be.
Right.
So that's always a little frustrating. Is there a reason you settled on Twitch as opposed to another platform?
I never used any other platforms. Twitch is the only one that I ever really knew about. Like I know that YouTube is a thing, but I found Twitch because my fiance watched people on Twitch.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed watching other people and eventually was like, "Hi, I want an emote." And so I started streaming to get that emote, and that's really just kind of how I chose it. It was just the only thing that I knew of and stumbled upon.
Well, you seem to have found the right one for you. So
Yeah, I love it. I really do. I think the community of people, I mean, I know it depends on the stream and the streamer what community you're going to get,
Mhm.
but the community that I've found both on my own stream and the streams that I watch is just some of the best people I've ever met. It's incredible. And so I'm very glad that Twitch is where I found this streaming and
Mhm.
such.
It's good. Cool. What else is on your mind?
Okay. Very important question. Do you agree that soup is not a drink?
Soup is not a drink. Hmm. See, I don't know how familiar you are with my channel. There's this verb called shenning that occurs quite frequently when people ask me questions, which is I will go at great length to not answer not your question.
Okay.
So I'm gonna shen quite a bit for this one. We might eventually
Perfect.
get you an answer to your question,
Okay.
but there will be a lot of not answering not your question for a minute. Okay.
Perfect.
Cool. Okay, so soup is consumed. And then I guess the initial question is, would you describe it as do you eat soup or do you drink soup? What is the method of consuming soup? Primarily for me, I'm a soup as a vessel of dipping. Like I'm not that big of a soup fan. I'd much rather be a stew fan. And stew, I think, is definitively eating. You cannot drink stew. It's too thick to drink. So I'm very much more in the camp of stew than soup. So perfect example of shenning answer there, of not answering not your question. So you would ask me, is soup not a drink? I would say you eat stew is a way of not answering not your question. So we've arrived on one conclusion at least. Let's continue further now. Let's get further and further away from the answer you're actually looking for. So if we view soup as a derivative of stew, it's a runny stew, which is why I approach soup as more of a dipping thing with bread or crackers or cheese, some other method of consuming at least the runnier part of the soup and then having a more concentrated chunks left over that I would then eat. But then you get into the concept of broth, which is kind of came before soup, especially in medieval period. Broth was kind of the way to go, which you would drink broth. You wouldn't eat broth. So broth, I think we could define as a drink. So broth defined as a drink, stew defined as eating. And then whether soup, I think this kind of answers itself now, is would I want to describe soup as runny stew or chunky broth? And I don't think chunky broth kind of makes me throw up a little bit. So I think just by aesthetic alone, I'm going to have to settle on runny stew, in which case, no, not a drink.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are we still
Thank you.
friends? Is this good? I
We are
passed the
still
test?
friends. I
Great.
also don't like the term runny stew either.
Right,
Um,
but runny stew, you can at least
it's
just say no
better than
thanks. Where if someone said, "Would you like
right.
some chunky broth?" You'd be like,
Like that sounds like the cottage cheese
right, like
of broth.
curdled. Something's gone wrong with
Curdled,
that
yes.
broth if it's chunky, right?
Don't 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 enjoy that broth. It is not the broth for you.
So yeah, there's not a drink. Can confirm, not a drink.
Perfect. You heard it here, folks. Soup is not a drink. Wow, it's bright out here. Never. That was.
Yes, back to the
There's
darkness.
a lot of lights.
This is why anglerfish stay below the midnight zone of aquatic habitats
It
to
is the best
avoid the
part of the
sunlight.
ocean. Yes, mermaids hide down there too. That's why people think we're not real.
I mean, we've explored very little of the deep sea, so
It's true. Humans are doing a
mermaids
really
could
bad job at
exist.
that. I mean, they do. I'm right here.
Well,
Right,
anglerfish,
right here.
but sure. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm in disguise as an anglerfish.
Oh, wait, is this a Shens TV exclusive? Are we actually
I
have we
forgot this was
broken the
live.
wall here? Is this an exclusive info from Shens TV, ladies and gentlemen, confirmed for the first time? The
Look,
anglerfish is not an anglerfish. Canon, it really is mermaid in disguise.
it's true.
Okay.
I probably should have said anything. So my chat does know that I was part of a secret spy organization a while back. They just didn't know that I still am. Technically, it's a different organization that actually understands how good my skills are, but it's no shade to the other one. At least with the anglerfish, it's okay if we lose half of a person on a mission. It's normal.
Right, right. And depending on which
Um,
half, you might not even notice.
exactly. When I was at the other organization, we lost the left half of somebody.
Hmm.
But, I don't know what the big deal is. He's all right.
I'm gonna let that one slide. I'm gonna let that one slide.
It's serious. It's a very serious thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but going in, so I see you have a pirate outfit.
Yes, yes, yes.
Do you just have it as like a costume, or do you know things about pirates, enjoy pirate lore, conversations about
I
that?
enjoy a good amount of pirate lore. One of the things I would like to create at some point is a more historically accurate pirate movie.
Ooh,
That kind of like, if you ever seen Master and Commander,
I have not. I have not seen a lot of movies.
it's one of the more accurate seafaring movies to have been produced. Um, and ever since I've seen that movie, I was like, if someone could do this but for pirates, it could actually be very interesting. And there's actually a
Mhm.
couple like decent ones. Like there's some documentaries on Blackbeard that are very intriguing and done pretty well. But they're in a documentary format, so it doesn't have that
Right,
cinematic flair to it, right?
right.
So that's something that always in the back of my mind. I was actually thinking about that earlier today, as far as just creative writing and stuff like that, of further developments for my possible pirate screenplay. So interesting you would bring that up.
Have you done screenplays before?
Haven't like produced anything, but I have screenplays and things. Yeah, I do. I do writing when I'm inspired to do it,
Mhm.
and one of my very close friends has. We kind of have regular heart to hearts check-ins, and he asked me why I don't write more, and I was like, I don't have a good answer for you.
Mm. Yeah, writing's
So,
one of those things that it's a moment.
mhm.
You want to make sure you can, when it's there, you want to capture it, but
Right.
yeah.
Do you do any writing, or is it mostly drawing for you?
I used to write short stories and poems constantly when I was in middle and high school, and then I just kind of stopped and haven't in a very long time.
Hmm.
But, yeah, maybe one
Poems were
day.
always big for that middle school, high school time period. I think
Yeah,
a lot of
we
people
got
like
all
poems.
the very emotional times. Might
Yeah,
as well do it.
yeah, makes sense
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. But there was a couple years I really wanted to participate in NaNoWriMo, which I
Hmm.
might try again this year, but I need an idea. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Not entirely, no.
Yeah, so NaNoWriMo is it's National Novel Writing Month, and there's a website that's spelled NA, however you spell NaNoWriMo. I can't remember off the top of my head. But it's basically to try to help you write I think it's like 50,000 word novel within the month of November.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like they have like the certain amount that you should be writing every day of words.
Yeah,
And the goal is to just write it all down that month. Worry
yeah.
about the editing later and just get the story
Mm-hmm.
created. Um, so I did try that one year. I had another year that I was going to and then didn't. Um, but that was, oh my God, that was probably like 10 plus years ago.
Mm. Time flies, isn't it? It's crazy.
Yeah. Wow. I
I
don't.
used to I used to collaborate with people for February album writing month. Kind of the same idea,
Oh,
because
I've never heard of that.
February has 28 days in it. So if you do an album of 14 songs, you have 2 days to make each song. So the idea being you just have the month of February to make a 14 track album. And it's, again,
That's so
same
cool.
idea. It's not about
Yeah.
being polished. It's not about your production value. It's about just getting the songs out of you.
Right. To just put the expression out. And I think
Okay.
doing stuff like that is really good because it takes away the stress of is it good enough? Because it's not supposed to be good enough. It's
Right.
supposed to just be there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which I think is kind of what the appeal of streaming is too. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because you don't have, I mean, depending on how you stream and what your stream is, you don't have a perfect script for everything. You don't have an exact of this is how this is going to go. You just kind of do it.
Right. I like that. Cool.
Yeah.
Things to think about for sure.
Yeah. And I think that goes for really any creative thing. If, like, obviously, if you have certain things that you want to do perfectly, that's great. But if you can't get those, try doing something that's just anything, just whatever you can
Yep.
put down, even if it's just a line or something. Um, worry about perfecting things later.
Yeah. Makes sense. I like it. Cool. Well, we got about 15 minutes left, so if you got one or two more topics you want to get into, let's do it.
All right. Um, Not gonna lie, I had a very hard time thinking of questions, and I don't have any more, and I'm looking at a question website to try to think of questions.
It's all right. If it's anything that we talked about before you want to get more into, we can do that too.
Um, with your screenplays that you have done, what was the inspirations behind them, and what are they, if you're comfortable sharing that?
Mm. So my projection goal is I want to get to a point where I can do like one creative project every year. And kind of like the marketability of it would be I wouldn't need more than like 100,000 a year success, like on a larger scale. So like if we get to like movies, TV shows, whatever, like it wouldn't be the situation where you have to pay someone millions of dollars to produce something incredible.
Mhm.
Like my marketability would be I can produce something very high quality without demanding a lot of money, which would allow for more negotiation and resources into the project. So the idea would be like finding one project each year, like a TV show, a movie, a live concert series, some kind of system in which I would just find a group that's willing to work with me to do it, and then I do it.
Mhm.
And then the next year we move on to the next project. So with something like that, it's kind of wanting to pace out all the genres. So one of the examples is I want to do like pastiche albums, which kind of work as a parody, but on the genre itself. So kind of breaking down genres into things they do well and things that everyone hates about them, and
Mhm.
playing with those elements. So like just doing a country album, doing a hip hop album, doing a classical album, right?
Mhm.
And then each of the songs in that would kind of break down some of those elements and play with them, and just trying to do each one as well as possible. And then going back to like the screenplays, it would kind of be having the same effect. I'm a bit more drawn to like medieval time period concepts, but doing a pirate movie, doing like a wizard druid movie kind of a thing, um, doing like a castle siege movie. I think like a kind of like the what was it, 1918? Was that the new World War One movie that came out that had a lot of single shot takes? I would like to do something like that for like a siege, like an uncut. Like there would obviously be cuts, but they would be disguised, and it'd just kind of be like a nonstop stream of a castle being sieged, and even maybe getting a little more creative with it and having it be like an Asian castle and
Mhm.
drawing on the history of Chinese and Japanese cultures and how they constructed defenses and fortifications and early warning systems and stuff, and then more of the European as the attacker to also incorporate the European war machine innovations and tunneling and other things like that. So like not necessarily making it a particular battle in history that happened, but more highlighting things that have actually occurred and expressing them through that story. And then same thing kind of with like the Wizard Druid movie. It would probably be more quest based, but the idea being really playing into like what was actually considered magic in those days, like chemistry and um, mathematics, and being able to predict things that nowadays we have calendars for. Like
Right.
back then, it was like, how did they know it's wizardry? It's like, well, no, you just have to watch it for 3 weeks, and it's pretty predictable. Um,
Mhm.
so kind of that idea of really diving into the origins of things, and rather than coloring it for cinematic purposes to create a mythology, kind of shedding the mythology and really exposing the truth of it and the humanity in it. Because I think
Mhm.
that makes for better movies generally, is when you can show and portray that humanity rather than a fantasy. So that's kind of where my screenplays go. It's just kind of picking genres and how to like break away the fantasy of it and
Mhm.
bring the humanity back into it.
I really like the idea of something about magic that's not like very fantasy magic, but like a real, this is what magic was thought to be kind
Mm-hmm.
of thing. That's a really cool concept.
Be cool. I'm working on it. Give me like 10 more years. I might have
All
something
right,
for you.
I'll be timing it. I'll be 10 years. Hey Siri, remind me in 10
Oh,
years
jeez.
to check out Shenz's screenplay movie thing.
Now I gotta clock on
Okay, your reminder is set for September 21st, 2031.
Okay, I said that.
Amazing. Amazing. I mean, the good news is I actually have stuff written down already. So worst case scenario, I just show you what I have. It may not be
That's
much,
true.
but I'll have something I can show you.
I didn't say it was the finished one, so that is
Yeah.
fair.
Loopholes. Yeah.
Did you say you wanted to do a chat Q&A at the end as well, or?
Yeah. I mean, we can wrap up this portion if you're feeling cozy. I feel like we hit a pretty good way to finish here. So, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
that's gonna do it for this portion of the show, the YouTube portion of the show, as it were. We will continue with a little bit of Q&A from chat. Chat's already got some good questions in there that we're gonna backtrack to. We got that.
Great.
That's a finger heart.
Heart.
It is a
It's a
finger
heart.
heart. So thank you all for watching. If you want to catch the Q&A, you got to be here live every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And Electric Mermaid, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
It's been a delightful little chat.
Thank you for having me.
Would you like to promote your channel, socials, things along those lines?
Yeah, this is the best. Hold on, I can't take this off. It's this chair. Hi, I'm Electric_Mermaid. I am mainly a Twitch streamer. I also have other socials. You can find me on the Twitters and the Instagrams and whatnot, but mostly the Twitch. I do cool dance things. I hang out with chat. My biggest thing is, again, chat interaction. So feel free to stop by and say hi and come hang out with us.
And catch her for Marble Fest, 2 a.m. segment.
Yes, I am
Yeah.
doing the 2 a.m. Marble Fest segment October 3rd. That is Eastern Daylight Time.
Good stuff. Looking forward to it. Thank you all.
It's going to be exciting. I have plans, and if they work, it's going to be exciting. And if not, I'll pretend my plan was a different thing that I'll do. And nobody will know the difference.
We'll never know. Thank you all, and we'll